Oh, hey Grizzle, you're gonna make a video on Paladin Parnell? Yeah, totally do that. Oh shit, fucking 2 weeks later. So it's pretty obvious that this video is a little bit late, so most of you already know how Paladin Parnell works. However, I still wanted to make a video about him because I know there's quite a few of you who haven't had a chance to play Evolve Stage 2 yet, so you know exactly how he works and what to expect with him. Then there's also some quite exciting stuff that I'm going to talk about towards the end of the video, and some subtle changes that have come to the game which a lot of you probably missed. But otherwise than that, I guess we'll get into what Paladin Parnell is. If it wasn't already obvious, he's a bit of a beast medic. He's kind of a mix between Rogue Val, Slim, and Kyra. I'm sure a lot of you know how they work. He recently had some changes which I'll get to in a second, so he's in a very powerful spot. But anyway, his Genesis rockets, they are his main healing source. Without any capacity, he does have 5 of those. You do have to be kind of accurate and make sure that you kind of predict where a player's going, because obviously there is travel time. One thing that did surprise me, and I only found out after someone actually told me, but the rockets do allow you to heal yourself. The reason not many people know this is because the healing's so little. In fact, it's only about 30 per rocket. But while your shotgun is reloading, it is actually worth switching to your rocket launcher, getting a couple heals in and then switching back, so you are getting something in and not just completely wasting all the time by just obviously waiting for that reload. Now, the Mutation Shotgun is what makes Paladin really fucking tanky, and in fact, it's kind of been buffed just ever so slightly, so obviously the more he shoots the monster, the quicker it brings back his heal burst, but his heal burst only affects himself, and I think the amount of like shots it takes to actually get your heal burst back has been sort of buffed a little bit, so he can heal himself very effectively, and he can last for a stupid amount of time if he gets focused. Finally, the Righteous Fury, which is basically Super Soldier, so it increases your fire rate and your reload speed. Also does give you jump height. It doesn't give you move speed like it does with the OG version of Parnell. But the main thing is you do get a matrix. It's not quite as powerful as an assault matrix, but it's enough to make you quite tanky. The only area that Paladin really suffers in is against monsters that do good spread damage, because he struggles to keep himself alive and others at the same time. With any new character, I do think that he does have quite a bit of balancing ahead of him, because at the moment I do think he's on the quite powerful side if you've got the right comp and you definitely work together. As monster at the moment, to deal with a good Paladin, you have to bait out his Super Soldier as quickly as possible, because during that time he is just immensely powerful at keeping himself and others alive. Or just to cut a long story short, he's good as fuck right now. Anyway, that's the general idea with Paladin, and I assume there's going to be a lot of changes to him and to the game in general over the next couple of months. For those of you that have been keeping an eye on the Trello board, I'll leave a link in the description, so those of you that haven't seen it can have a look. Basically gives you an idea of what they're currently working on and what's also due to be added, and it's quite a lot, so I thought I'd quickly go through it because some of it is going to be pretty interesting and it's going to really change up the game. First thing that's going to hit you is most likely going to be a new monster and hunter perk, just to keep things simple. It's unknown what these perks are going to be, but there's quite a few in the Evolve Stage 2 trailer which they have yet to add. So there is a monster perk which looks like it's going to be some kind of damage perk. Then the other unrevealed monster perk is ambush, so I would have thought if you get a surprise attack, in other words an attack where you don't take any damage in, maybe you get a damage bonus on that or something like that. Could be interesting, or it might have something to do with sneak pouncing. Then on the hunter side of things, there is monster Tranquilizer, which is likely just going to make it so your bullets slow monster, and there's also wildlife fear down at the bottom that not a lot of people noticed. I don't think that would be any good if the name suggests what it does, but then again it is still a new perk. So whether it's going to be those perks or not, there is going to be some new perks coming for monsters and hunters, and presumably they're going to keep adding those over time as well. Finally, I get to talk about the new monster changes. Now, monsters have not had a lot of attention recently because of all these new hunter variants coming out, so a lot of the focus has been on those. Well, if you weren't already aware, all the monsters are going to be going through some huge reworks over the next few months. It's going to take a while to do all of them, but still, the amount of changes coming to them is going to be insane. But the one that's going to be coming to us really soon is going to be Bobby Boo, or Behemoth. Now, Behemoth has been in a tough spot for quite a long time. He just wasn't viable at really high level play, and for those that know how to play against him, he would suffer and would just get absolutely shit on. That's also why Behemoth has been locked for those of you that aren't founders, because they want to actually make sure Bob is polished off and actually a viable monster before giving him to everyone. Well, for quite a while now they've been putting a lot of effort into Behemoth to make sure that he's viable for competitive play and so that everyone can have fun playing him. For instance, one of the many problems Behemoth had was his rock wall. It would never go where you wanted it to go, including leaving gaps, and just wouldn't do the job that you wanted it to do. Simple little things like this have been fixed for Behemoth and are due to be added to the game really soon, probably this month. So because a lot of the monsters, including including Behemoth, are getting a massive rework, they want to make sure that it's also fun for both parties, so hopefully when you're playing Hunter against, the reworked monsters, it'll also be a much smoother experience. So this includes making things more obvious, for instance when Behemoth goes into his tank-like state. Basically when he takes in a certain amount of damage, his health and armor goes down slower, which obviously helps him. They've made this more obvious by making him glow. This is also likely to tie in with the new passive abilities that all the monsters will eventually be getting, and Behemoth is probably going to be the first to actually get his. Now all these passive abilities for the monsters are going to be different from each other, and it's going to take a while to actually add them all, but the idea is when the hunters do a certain amount of damage in a certain amount of time, the monsters will sort of get a sort of fiery rage, or something will happen where the hunters around them will be affected. So for Behemoth that's likely to be some sort of fire damage, but then for a monster like, I don't know, Gorgon, maybe actually slows them with some kind of web effect, but that's just the general idea. But it's going to be starting off with the Goliaths and then Behemoth, and then it's more than likely that the other monsters will also get these special passive abilities. Take it into account that these things are going to be quite far in the future, but also quite a few of the monsters are going to have their abilities reworked, if not just flat out changed. This really goes for monsters like Wraith, Gorgon and Kraken, because they're in quite difficult positions and also have abilities which are just in general not fun to use, don't give you very much control, and are not very much fun to play against. Taking Kraken as an example, his Banshee Mines are fantastic at low-level play because, players that are new don't really tend to shoot the Banshees, and then they're terrible against good players because they will have a dedicated person to shoot the Banshee Mines, making that whole ability pretty much useless. But then that continues on and goes on for AI-controlled abilities like Decoy for Wraith, and also, I would say, Spider Trap for Gorgon. Currently, Kraken's Aftershock is actually being reworked, and it will be a ranged ability, so Kraken won't have to come to the floor, and I would have thought that his Banshee Mines are also on the list to be changed. But as for Gorgon and Wraith, they are also going to have a couple of their abilities reworked, so Wraith, Supernova and Decoy is likely to be changed, and also Gorgon's Spider Trap and Mimic. No idea how they're going to be changed or reworked, but I know it will be a lot more player friendly and hopefully a lot more enjoyable and should give you a lot more control. So those are the main things that are going to be coming to monsters over the next few months, and there's no guarantee as to when they're coming because, it probably takes quite a long time to rework a whole ability in its own. There is going to be a slight change to the monster's energy. For those of you that don't know, when you get a hunter down, you actually get some energy towards evolving. Well, that is actually going to change ever so slightly, and you'll be able to actually get energy towards evolving just by doing damage. How much sort of energy you get towards evolving by doing damage is still unknown, but that's also going to be added very soon. The final thing that I wanted to touch on was maps. So all of you pretty much know we have 4 maps in the game currently, and they are now and again making sure that these maps stay balanced, and they are pretty balanced, but you may have noticed this area on Distillery has been cleared out quite a bit, so it's easier for monsters like Goliath, and hunters can't kite or sort of roach around so easily. But as anticipated, 4 maps is not a lot, but hey, I'd rather have 4 balanced maps than 12 unbalanced maps that aren't fun at all. So for those of you that didn't play Legacy Evolve, there was actually quite a lot of maps, and they are due to be reworked. There's a couple apparently already in the works, and that's Dam and then also Fusion Plant. When they're going to be added is completely unknown, but I think it is sort of hinted in the Trello board, so hopefully we'll be seeing one of those again later this year. Again, feel completely free to have a look at that board in your own time. I mean, for instance, there's loads of other Hunter variants that apparently are coming, and then I know Slim is also going to get a complete refactor because he's just OP as fuck and needs to be destroyed. Like for monsters, he is just horrible at the moment, so his Spore Card's being changed, and I would have thought his healing as well. But anyway, that was pretty much all that's been going on. I'm really sorry that I haven't had a video out in the last couple of weeks. I've been pretty stressed, but I might make a separate video about that, and most of you probably don't give a shit. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I guess, it gives you a bit of an update of what's going on, and otherwise than that, I'll see you in the next one.
X gon' give it to you. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you. Knock, knock, open up the door, it's real. With the non-stop pop-out and stainless steel. Go hard, getting busy with it. But I got such a good heart that I make a motherfucker wonder if he did. Damn right, and I'll do it again. Cause I am life, so I got to win. Break bread with the enemy. No matter how many cats I break bread with, I'll break who you sending me.